When you stretch your glutes like this, your hip flexors and psoas like this, and decompress your spine like this, you can say goodbye to SI joint pain. Let me show you why this works so well and how to do each stretch with perfect form. Now, the reason why people have SI joint pain is because they aren't allowing their hips and spine to move the way it was meant to move. So these are your hips, and these are the hips from the backside. What you need to know is that your spine meets your hips right at what's called your SI joint. In a perfect world, I like to think about the spine and the hips like a sailboat and its mast. If the sailboat has a mast that's connected to it, well, smooth sailing. But if the sailboat has a mast that's moving all over the place, it's not gonna end up well for that boat. And that's exactly what happens with SI joint pain. You see, these nerves come down your spine and they run right here through this SI joint. And if this joint moves too much and gets inflamed, well, it pinches down these nerves, causing some pretty excruciating lower back pain. And this can happen really fast, from just twisting and bending over without thinking about it to even just sleeping wrong at night. But the good news is, if you do the stretches that I'm gonna teach you today in the ways that I'm gonna teach you how to do them, you can relax this area of the body, allow it to heal, and then learn how to use your spine and your hips more like a sailboat as one piece rather than letting them move like this and getting more SI joint pain in the future. So let's start with the first stretch for your glutes. Now, this first stretch is gonna target your glute muscles and your hip external rotators, which if they're tight, when you go to sit down in a chair or every step you take, your pelvis will move like this, causing irritation in your SI joint. But if we loosen those muscles up, then your hip will be able to move freely and your pelvis and your spine will be one piece. So my favorite stretch for this is a simple seated figure 4 stretch. So what you're gonna do is come to the edge of a chair. You're gonna keep your legs almost straight, but with a slight bend to the knee at first, okay? You're gonna take one ankle, cross it over the knee like this, have a nice tall posture, and then you're going to bow your body forward towards your ankle until you feel a stretch on the outside of the hip. Now in this position, you wanna take some deep belly breaths and exhale, try to relax and bring your belly button towards your thigh more to intensify the stretch. Now for some people, this is too challenging. And so what you wanna do is take the ankle and cross it underneath the knee instead, grab it with your hand, and then repeat the same thing, bowing forward from the hips with a nice flat back. This is gonna help open up the hips and make them feel so much better. Now you can hold this stretch for at least 60 seconds, ideally maybe for 90 seconds on each side, and you should do this stretch every single day until the SI joint pain goes away, provided it doesn't make things worse. Now, a really important point to make sure that you don't make things worse is if you're doing the figure 4 stretch, and instead of having a nice flat back as you bring your belly forward, you round your back forward like this to try and bring your chest towards your ankle. Well, that's doing the same thing we were just talking about that causes SI joint pain. We're rounding our spine and moving our spine relative to our pelvis. So don't make that mistake, okay? You can even use a mirror next to you or have somebody watch you. The first thing we want is nice tall posture. And then as we come forward like this, we're moving through the hip socket, but our pelvis and our spine are moving forward at the same rate, not our spine moving forward and our pelvis staying fixed like this, okay? Now, if you wanna intensify that stretch over time, when you have the ankle crossed over the knee like this, I like to grab onto my ankle and then use my elbow to push down on my leg, opening up the hip even more. Or you can also bring your foot closer to the chair or whatever you're sitting on, and then get a nice tall posture and try to bring your body closer to your leg that way. Both of those things will intensify the stretch and make it so much more effective. But start out at a place that feels comfortable, go slow, don't go too far too fast, and do this stretch every day and watch as your hips feel better and your SI joint starts to feel so much better too. Now let's do the next stretch. Okay, another common reason that people have SI joint pain is they have a type of posture called an anterior pelvic tilt. I like to think about it as like a Donald Duck looking posture, right? And the reason why this causes that same pinching is because if our lower back is arched like this all the time, we're constantly pressing down on the SI joint in a way that our body's not supposed to function. And it's gonna pinch on those nerves and cause that SI joint pain. So what we wanna do is we wanna reset the pelvis and bring it back to the center, all right? So if you put your hands on your hips right now, what we wanna check is our pelvis tilted forward? I like to imagine if my pelvis was a bowl of water, would I be pouring that water out forward like this? or would it be in the center? If it's poured out forward, then you absolutely need this stretch. This stretch is gonna focus on your hip flexors and your psoas, okay? And oftentimes when we stretch these muscles, people have instant relief in their lower back or SI joint. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna start by putting one foot backward and take one step forward like this. It doesn't have to be a big step. And the big thing we wanna focus on here is that we don't make it worse by, as we come into this stretch, arching our lower back, okay? So the moment we arch our lower back like this is the moment we're not actually doing this stretch. So what we really wanna do is twist the hips forward. Imagine we're squeezing the glutes and tucking the pelvis. So I'm pointing my tailbone down towards the ground. And then I'm gonna start to move my body forward, but I'm not gonna let my pelvis move at all. I'm gonna keep my tailbone tucked towards the ground. What you'll feel is a stretch deep inside the hip right here. And if you wanna intensify this stretch even more, you could take your hand and place it on a wall or a countertop or a chair for support, keep the tailbone tucked under, and this time take your arm overhead with your thumb pointed backwards and do an ever so slight side bend while moving your hip out to the side. You should feel this deepen the stretch all the way into your abdomen, into your psoas. Now, just like before, we want to take big belly breaths in. Don't lose the pelvic position. Exhale and relax as we come forward. You can hold this stretch for at least 60 seconds, ideally as much as 90 seconds on both the left side and the right side. And just like the glute stretch, you can do this every single day and watch as your SI joint pain melts away. This last stretch focuses on decompression, both of the spine and the hip capsule. And if I were someone who just hurt their back and started getting that pinching pain in their SI joint, this is the first thing I would do, and I would do it every day, maybe even 2 or 3 times a day, because it makes such a considerable difference on relaxing the inflammation in that joint and allowing your body to heal. Now, the reason why this is important is if our hip capsule is compact, meaning the bones are really tight like this and the muscles are really tight like this, every step I take is gonna cause these bones to pull forward and backwards on the spine, again, making the SI joint pain worse. And if my spine is compressed, meaning smushed down like this, well, guess what? That's gonna pinch on that nerve even more too. But this one simple stretch actually does both at the same time. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna find a chair like this, or you can even do this in your bed with a stack of pillows too if you want instead. And what you're gonna do is come down to the ground, come onto your back, and you're going to bring your legs up on top of a chair, a stack of pillows, or something that is high enough where it almost feels like the pressure on the backs of your calves is pulling your hips out of your hip socket this way. Now, once you find your position where it feels like there's a little bit of pushing up against the calves and pulling the hips out, we wanna take our shoulder blades and our neck, we wanna elongate our spine as much as possible, just as long as possible. Then what I do is I drop my shoulders away from my ears and I simply relax in this position. Now, this is wonderful. It's not gonna feel like a traditional stretch where your muscles are getting stretched, but it's gonna allow your back to settle into the ground, your spine to relax and decompress, and your hip capsules to decompress at the same time. Now, this is a little bit different because you're not gonna wanna hold this stretch for 1 minute. It's probably not gonna do much if you hold it for 1 minute. So ideally, you wanna do this for like at least 10 minutes, but more likely 20 or 30 minutes. But if you've ever experienced SI joint pain in an acute way before, you'll know that you can't really do much anyways. So you might as well find a comfortable position like this, grab yourself a book or your phone or turn on a movie and see if you can just relax all the muscles of your body. Now, once you've done at least 10 minutes, it's really important that we don't just jerk our way out of this position and end up hurting ourselves more. So you wanna be very slow to move the legs out. You wanna be very slow to move your body around and come up to a seated or a standing position with a whole lot of patience. But again, if I hurt my SI joint, this is the position you're gonna find me in for the first couple days. So make sure you do this stretch every single day to make your SI joint feel better.